this is yours truly, 50 only. Once again, I'm back for another episode of Tyler Perry's House of Payne. This is season 8, episode 2. And if you like this commentary, please comment, like, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell for another episode. So let's get right into this episode. So this starts off at CJ's house. Aunt Ella is over there. CJ's sitting on the couch, and basically Aunt Ella's trying to do whatever she can to make him comfortable. So she says she's going to make some oxtails for him for dinner. So then while CJ's sitting there, and of course CJ is like, okay, you can do that. So then Calvin comes over, and he's sitting there with CJ on the couch, and he's telling him about he's going to have dinner for Laura at his place, and he's trying to put together this nice dinner for her. So then Calvin asks CJ if he can borrow his nice place settings and some cloth napkins, and basically CJ's like, man, Calvin is he's been through some stuff. So, he's struggling a little bit. He's not really good at things like that. So, but then CJ does tell him that he can hold them. So then Calvin goes and asks Aunt Ella if he can have the lasagna recipe that she makes. It's like everybody's favorite. So she's like, you can't even cook, basically. And, he talks about how amazing Laura is, and then how much he likes her. And then, Aunt Ella basically says she's going to text him the recipe. So then Lisa and Malik come in the house, and those two are always arguing, it seems like. And CJ's trying to get up out of the chair, So Malik tells CJ, that he's just, stressed between school, between Lisa living there and her being pregnant. And, he's basically letting his hair down, basically telling CJ that this is what's going on. Me and Lisa have been arguing, but the reality is Malik has been put in a situation where he is now, it's really him growing up, but also it is a lot of pressure on him, put on him unexpectedly. So how many times have we been in situations where you're okay, and then all of a sudden it's almost like all these things are happening. You know how how the saying, when it rains it pours. It's kind of like, oh my God, this is going on, and then on top of that this happened, and on top of that this happened. So I feel like that's where Malik is. Like, he's just got a lot of stuff going on. So CJ, in the meantime, is struggling, but he doesn't want help because he's trying to get up. And Malik is like, "Are you okay, Dad?" And he's like, "Yeah, don't worry about me." So then Lisa demands an apology from Malik, and he does give her an apology, but then seeing the state that his dad is in, he's concerned. So he's like, "Look, I'm going to run over to see Uncle Curtis. Maybe he can talk to my dad." So Malik goes over to Uncle Curtis. He goes in at Uncle Curtis's house, and he's telling Uncle Curtis about CJ and how CJ is like, he's really worried about him. Like, he's not allowing him to help him, even though he sees him struggling. And so Malik asks Uncle Curtis if he would mind just going to talk to him. So we see, then it goes to Calvin's place. Calvin is struggling to make dinner at his place. And then Laura comes over, and she looks really nice, and he compliments her. And he's still like, he's trying to put stuff together, but he has no clue what he's doing. So then it goes to CJ's house, and CJ's on the floor. Like, he has his, it's like he's on the, like his knees are on the floor, but he's like bent over this like seat. And he can't get up. So Malik and Uncle Curtis come in the house, and they see him. And CJ is still in denial that he needs help. Like, he just does not want to admit that he really needs somebody to help him. So Curtis begins to talk to CJ, and he kind of reminds CJ that It's okay to ask for help. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And he also talks about what it means to be a real man, which I thought was really good. So he goes in and he tells CJ, a man recognizes his weakness, and he also can ask for help. He can also ask a brother to help him. And I think that was so it was very interesting, and it was really good, because I know particularly in the black community, men are told to be strong, don't cry, keep your head up, suck it up, all these things, even women. But in this particular case, we're talking about men. So men are told, you can handle everything. You bear the weight of the world on your shoulder pretty much, and you can never release that. And so I thought it was good that, Uncle Curtis was reminding CJ that no, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say that you need help and that you can't do that by yourself. And so, CJ's still struggling. And I think one of the biggest problems too that we see in a lot of men, if I could say, is, and just people in general, I don't want to single it to just men, but I know how many times have you had situations where you struggle with being in control. I know for me personally, I had a situation years ago that I broke my ankle. And it was so hard for me because I couldn't get around. And at that time, my kids were young, so I was still trying to take care of the kids. I mean, I was married, but there were certain things that I still had to do. And the problem was I couldn't get around like I normally would. Like, I had to have crutches, and I went through like a little bit of a depression, because you don't realize until you're actually in a situation where you can't do something, how much you miss it and how it affects you emotionally. Because like, if you're used to being somebody that's always on the go, or that you can just get up and do things, it's like when you are put down because of something that is out of your control. So, my situation, I slipped on black ice, so I didn't even know the ice was there. And my ankle broke in 3 different places. So I was in such a place of, for one thing, for me, being in control was hard, because all of a sudden I had to walk slower. And I remember this particular day, I was going to the grocery store. My aunt came and picked me up, and I had to go to the grocery store. And we're going in there, and she asked me, she was like, do you want to go sit in one, those little things that people can sit in and they drive around? And she was like, why don't you sit in there? And I was like, oh no, I'm not getting in that thing. So it was like, I was just in such denial. Like, I was in the same situation like CJ. Like, I'm not doing that. I was like, I will walk on these crutches. And I did. I walked around the store in those crutches. But the issue is, I was having a hard time with accepting that there's just some times that I'm going to need some help. Like, I just can't do everything that I normally would do until I heal. And so it was challenging for me. So I do know, like, when you're in those situations where you have absolutely no control over the situation, you have to ask for help. I mean, you have to know that. And then one of the things that Uncle Curtis brought out was, there's a lot of people that don't even have family that can help them. Like, they're all by themselves. I know that when I go to the store sometimes, I see a lot of older people that they drive themselves to the store, and you see them struggling. Like, they walk really slow, and you see them like trying to get in and out the car, but they don't have anybody to go grocery shopping for them, and they basically shouldn't really be on the road, but they don't have a choice, and it's really sad, when I see that. Like, I feel bad that, they don't have anybody, or, I don't know what their situations is, but for whatever reason, they're by themselves. I mean, I don't know if it's by choice or if it's because they really don't have anybody, but there's a population of people that don't have anybody. And Uncle Curtis was pointing out to CJ lean on your family. I mean, you got people here that want to help you, and there are people that don't have that. And so he basically was letting him know, this is what you need to do. You need to ask your family, let us help you. Like, we want to be here. We want to help you out. And I thought that that was really good of Uncle Curtis to talk to him about. So, back at Calvin's house, Calvin was still creating this huge disaster in the kitchen. And he was like burning stuff up. I don't know what he was doing in that stove. I mean, in the oven, but he was doing something. So Laura was asking Calvin what was going on. She was like, what's really going on, Calvin? Like, what's happening that, I see you doing all this, but what's real? What's underneath that? And so Calvin began to talk about how, he didn't want to make any mistakes like he did in his past relationship. And he just wanted to be better. He wanted to be a better person for Laura than he felt like he was for Miranda. And one of the things that I will say about that is, number one, I do think Calvin is jumping into this situation with Laura too quick. I don't know how long the time frame is between I don't know how long the time frame is between Miranda and Calvin's divorce, and like how many months it's been since they've been going through this divorce. I don't know, or years per se. I'm not sure, but even still, I do think that Calvin is jumping into the situation with Laura too quickly. I think that he asked her to marry him way too early, which signifies maybe, I don't know. There are some people that don't like being by themselves and they just have to be in a relationship. And Calvin doesn't have a problem with commitment. So I don't know if he's just struggling with being alone, or if he genuinely really feels like Laura is the right person for him at this point and he wants to be with her. But I feel like it's too soon. I feel like he needs to get to know her a little bit better. And he's also carrying some baggage from his previous relationship, because if he wasn't, he wouldn't be trying so hard. He would have learned these lessons already. And so, he's talking to her about that. And then Laura basically lets him know that she sees Calvin for who he is and she believes in him. And so I thought that was really nice that she does accept Calvin. Like, she's letting him know, Calvin, you're enough. And I know in this culture right now that we're going through, there's a lot on social media about, like, I don't know if you guys have even seen it or heard about it, but there's a whole lot going on in our community, particularly about like high value men and, women. Do we deserve high value men? I mean, there's like a bunch of stuff that I don't know if it's a wave. The whole thing is about what women want and what they deserve or should they have based on their looks, based on, their size. It's like all this stuff, like, should they have a man that makes 6 figures or more? I mean, it's just a lot of that going around that I hear about on social media, and I'm not sure, and particularly black women. And what I like, and the reason why I'm tying it into what Laura said, is because basically Laura is letting Calvin know, you don't have to be a high value man or somebody that has everything together, or you make all this money, or you walk in certain circles for me to be okay with you. Like, you and just who you are is enough. And I think vice versa, just even a man being able to accept a female that way, like, you're enough. Like, I think that personally, we all want the same thing when it comes down to it. People can argue with me. People might say that's not true, but I think at the core of who you are, man, female, male, female, I think we all want the same things, and that's to be loved, respected, to be able to trust and all those other things. Yes, I'm talking about values. I'm not necessarily talking about outward looks, because I know there's a lot of emphasis being put on outward looks, especially when it comes to the black female. There's a lot of pressure put on us to be, all of a sudden, it's like we're being chastised or, reprimanded for maybe like, there's just a culture out here that it's happening. And I just think that it needs to be balanced. But I will say that Laura basically was like, look, I love you regardless of, all of that. She was like, I don't even care what was said. To me, that goes to show you that love, it doesn't see all of that when it's true love. And then some people argue that relationships are not about love, that it's really two people making a commitment to each other, and they come together and decide to have this partnership, so to speak, or this understanding. But I just think the way society is, things have changed so much. But I am, and that's just me personally, I am still a firm believer in love and that being a big part of a relationship. So anyway, moving on. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I just had to bring that out. So then Laura's stomach growls after her and Calvin hug each other, and he's like, ooh. And so then he's like, yeah, I got an idea, less, because she's like, I'm starving. So they go over to CJ's, where Aunt Ella cooked this nice big meal. It looked like they had some cabbage and some rice and beans, and they had like the oxtails. And so they're sitting there, and then Calvin and Laura come in and they sit down and they eat. But I thought it was so nice that Aunt Ella made Laura a lasagna. Now, I thought that was significant because what that showed was that was sort of like a welcome, like welcome to the family, like we accept you. You know what I mean? Like I thought Aunt Ella giving her that lasagna was very symbolic of, we see you, we like you, we accept you into the family. And of course Laura was so appreciative about it. And then they all sat down and they were eating. And then all of a sudden everybody was leaving. And they all left the table except poor CJ, who was struggling all this time to ask for help. And then when he finally accepts the help, everybody leaves him by himself and then he can't get up. So that was kind of funny. So I thought the episode was good. Again, like I said, I do notice that there is lack of bantering back and forth. They did have a couple little awkward pauses, but not as much as there were in the previous season. Again, Janine is very well missed. I mean, like, I feel like Janine would have been all there. She would not leave CJ's side, and it's almost like they don't explain why Janine is not there. They just have had her on the phone. But it would be nice if they said, Janine is such and such a place. Or, even if they said that China or, Jasmine was off at college and maybe they made her call home or something. But I just find it interesting. They don't even talk about Janine in that way. I mean, and she was such an integral part of the other seasons. So I think they need to kind of tighten that up some more. So we'll see what happens. But overall, the episode was good. The lessons that I think they're trying to get you to see. I think what's happening with this one, and it's good because they did it before in the old seasons, they're trying to create episodes around lessons. Things that we can learn. I mean, they're very clear. What I liked about the old House of Payne episodes is that you had to kind of figure out what the lessons were. Here with these new ones, you can tell the writing, they put the lessons out there. They're pretty obvious what they want you to try to get to see or understand from the episode. So that was it for my take on it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave a comment if you liked it, and I will again see you in the next video. So have a great day.